kind of kick off the show here.
We're agreeing.
So cleaned up. Welcome to another edition of the Mafia Cast. I'm here with my good friends Mike and Casey. Another episode, another week. We are finally through the draft, and I'm your host, Papa Ron. How's everybody doing?
We're doing, man.
There you go. Not everybody wants slow down.
That was your cue, buddy. Gotta admit, kind of happy the draft is over because now we actually know the results and we can actually talk about what the season's going to hold.
Yeah, a little bit. What do you guys think of the draft? Were you guys able to watch the whole thing?
For the most part. Yeah, I mean, I was glued to it.
Mike might have fell asleep in the middle of the second, third round there on Friday.
Later, but man, for hours.
Glued to it after watching it dirt live on our show last week.
First
didn't miss a beat. And then Friday, drove out to Mike's house. We got to watch it together. And Saturday, the wife asked me, she's like, "Hey, what are we doing this weekend?" I was like, "Well, I am watching the draft." I was like, "You can do whatever you want."
Round three, I definitely get a little drowsy, and I think they woke me up, so I saw the pick.
Yeah, we have this thing where some nights we'll play a Mario Party with my wife's sister and her husband, boyfriend, whatever he is. And that night, Thursday night, after we got done with the show, my wife hollers up the stairs, "Hey, they want to play Mario Party." Nope, it's the draft time. Oh, that's right. Never mind.
Not happening. Not
happening. So this is kind of funny. At the during the draft, so we had our live show. When the draft first started, we get off. All three of us are watching. We finally get to the Bills pick, and I text you guys, and I was like, if we can get Torrance here, Osiris Torrance, I'm gonna have a fit. And I was up here in my man cave up here by myself when the pick happened. Thank goodness, because I would have made a complete fool of myself in front of my family.
You're saying if I passed on him?
No, if we got him, I was so excited. I have never been more excited for an offensive lineman draft pick in my life. And I've been watching 30 plus years of drafts.
I don't think many people have been as excited as probably all of Mills Mafia was this past Friday.
And to get him in the second round.
Offensive line
it was insane. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah, it was great. And I do want to talk about the offensive line. We'll get to the number one pick for the Bills here in a minute, but I want to talk about the offensive line and what that means for some of these guys, because we've added, if you guys recall, several episodes ago, I made the comment about I want 2 free agent offensive linemen, I want 2 in the draft, and that's exactly what they did. What do you guys think that means for Ryan Bates? Is his starting role in trouble?
I don't think he's in trouble. I think this is more about Bates has the ability to play center. We've seen he is the designated backup center to Mitch Morris. I think this is more so a move for the future with Torrance, to where this quite possibly could just be sit back and wait your year, kid. And then Bates moves to center next year and Mitch Morris, his time, we can all see, is starting to come to an end. So maybe the new line is going to be Torres, Bates, and McGovern following this year. But I think for this year, I think Bates is going to be safe.
Isn't Morris still under contract for a couple more seasons, though?
I think next year. I think next year is his last year, but we can get out from underneath it.
Yeah, at that point. And that could very well be what they do and move Bates over. But for 2023, on the first look, I'm seeing Dawkins and Brown in the tackle spots, McGovern and Torrance at the guards, and Morris in the middle. I like that, though, because with Ryan Bates, it does give them some flexibility if somebody does go down, because he can play any of those 3 spots in the middle. The one concern maybe though would be the swing tackle. We still have Quisenberry, which I suppose that could be the guy. Hopefully, we don't get to that, and hopefully, I believe that Brown's going to be better this year. He showed some flashes his rookie year that made everybody think, okay, this guy's got it. He's fine. Kind of regressed a little bit in year 2. A lot of that may be attributed to the injury early in the season where he didn't get to do any preseason work. I think he even missed the first couple of weeks of the season as well. So Jason here asks, how many offensive linemen do we currently have? Casey, I'm going to leave that to you to find that because I'm not sure.
So we have the 5 starters.
Right.
For now, we'll call them Dawkins, Bates, Morris, McGovern. My God, Brown. And then we have Quessenberry, Osiris Torrance, Broker, and Tommy Doyle.
9.
And Ike Bucker.
David Edwards.
And David Edwards. I would say there's one more, and I believe that's it.
One because there was another free agent that they grabbed.
Kevin Jarvis.
Yeah. Little known guy, hasn't played a whole heck of a lot, but again, because of injuries. So what is that, 12?
Yep.
It's a lot of bodies, big bodies.
That is, but I love that going into camp.
Too.
Go find your best 5 and put them out there week 1. I know that's the plan every year, but now there's different size bodies. There's different types of players in there. So now we can truly see all year what's going to mix and match and what is going to work.
Yeah, I just hope that they can find the best 5 before the week 1.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this before, how oftentimes they're kind of still shuffling people around. And there was actually a comment from Brandon Bean that kind of concerned me a little bit. He did talk about Osiris Torrance does have, or they believe he has the ability to play a tackle. But the plan right now is for him to play guard. And somebody put this beautifully, don't Cody Ford him.
I don't think they're going to. I don't think so, I think they learned their lesson. I really think that they're just gonna be like, all right, you are a guard. I mean, we've seen he isn't very quick laterally, being able to cover the edge, protect the edge as well as a tackle would need to be. So he's a guard. Beans beaning
very well.
Do you think this might be the best offensive line the Bills have had since McDermott took over?
Yeah, but we said that last year when we signed Roger Saffold. So
we sure did.
And that's the only thing that's changed.
So we've done more than
I
that.
even wrote about it last year. I'm not writing that this year. No, I ain't doing it.
Absolutely not. What's up, Sarah? What's going on?
Guard type players and not as many tackles. Like I thought we would really might have been more of an issue. Not more of an issue, but I'm just surprised like there was
more
urgency. Like no worry about it at all. Like we're set there, and
Bean has said that they have all the confidence in the world in Brown. So they're
and his actions are speaking louder than his words are.
Right.
You know,
I mean,
that Bills Mafia kind of took it tongue in cheek. Yeah. And so then he went into the draft. He's like, no, this is what's going to happen. But
as far as
this leaves next year, if he is not, if we can just tell Brown he's not going to be the guy. Okay, so maybe we can transition him to the swing tackle, and now we know what we're doing with our first round pick next year. So,
yeah, well,
always planning for the future.
Yeah, this is definitely a prove a year for Brown. I think. I think if it's more of the same from last season, then they'll probably look to start maybe finding another option there. Let's get over to the number 1 pick, the 27th pick, Dalton Kincaid. Let's start with you, Casey. What did you think about that? Were you expecting? Because I know we talked about when the possibility of them drafting a tight end first came up, you were like, no.
I was, but it's because just like a lot of other people, I still think tight end as in Jason Witten tight end. You know, Dallas Clark tight end. You know, can catch the ball and can catch passes, but not an athletic freak. You know, but this guy, I can't remember who it was, so I wish I could give them the credit, but their body comp was Mike Gesicki. Not saying that he's going to be as good, like he's only going to be Mike Gesicki, but I mean he's an athletic freak. I mean he's a wide receiver, and that's exactly it. He's a wide receiver in a tight end's body and at tight end money. So that's if we can get somebody that can find the soft spots on 3rd and 5. while Diggs and Davis find the intermediate spots, and Allen has his simple drop down. And perfect. That's exactly what we were looking for last year. Even Beasley couldn't find that. So I'm excited for it. I was against it, but after just taking a step back, really thinking of it, really learning who the player is, I love the pick.
Yeah, I love it too. I think if you drop the TE off the end of his name and add WR, nobody thinks twice.
Yep.
Because that's basically what he is. Can he block? Yeah, but it's not his main thing.
Yeah, he's not
Roy,
inline tight end.
Right. And you can do so much with him. And we've talked about the versatility that going with two tight end sets. I mean, picture him and Knox down inside the red zone. You got Diggs and Davis, and then you've got Harrison. I mean, there's so many options here. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to come at me with if our OC learns how to use them. I get that. I understand that. But and I've said this before about
something
Ken Dorsey.
different.
He was a rookie last year. He was still learning, and it's not like he was a rookie for the Bills as an OC. He's never done it before, ever. So, and the other thing too that I noticed is kind of doing some research action on Ken Dorsey. If you go back to his college days, he had a tight end there. Oh my gosh, I totally lost the name of him now. He's a junior. His dad was like an all-world tight end, Kellen Winslow. He had Kellen Winslow Jr. as a tight end in college. And in Carolina, they brought in Olsen and
Shockey.
I mean, you can see a history with him in tight ends. So I think it's just a matter of getting the right pieces in place for him. He knows how to use them, and he's going to use them this year. And I'm excited for what this offense can bring. I just really, really hope that the offensive line finally comes together. We finally have the pieces to make it all work.
Yeah, for sure.
I like this comment.
Bean did his job drafting Kincaid, eliminates Diggs being double teamed all the time. Well, and I hate to say this because I know, again, people are going to come at me. He's been compared to Kelsey as far as his skill set. Nobody is saying that he is Kelsey or that he's going to be that type of a tight end and put up those kind of numbers. But to that point, taking the pressure off of Diggs, he can do that.
Absolutely. I mean, it does, and it's not just taking pressure off Diggs. I mean, it's taking pressure off Davis. We saw Davis when he wasn't the immediate number 2 answer. He was a little bit more effective, when he was being covered by that strong safety or the free safety over top or that nickel corner. If that number 1 corner wasn't on him, or sometimes even the number 2 on a team like Miami, that had Byron Jones and Xavier Howard at the time, he could bust those guys. He had no problem getting open then. So if we have Davis, Kincaid, and Diggs, that's going to leave a lot more one-on-ones across the board, not even just for Diggs. Opens up the game plan as a whole.
It does a lot. And I do think, I mean, look at last season. I know there's all the complaints, and you've even said it. The offense didn't look good, but the numbers are the numbers. We were still number 2 in scoring, number 2 in yards. They were still able to put up points. So kind of going back to the offensive line again, if we can just figure that out and put that together and protect Josh, I think we go from number 2 to, 1 and beyond. Maybe like one of the top in the – okay,
history.
I'm not going to say it.
Hey,
you said it.
You're the one that had a Josh Allen yardage record track last year, and that was, and like I've said, in what looked like visually a not fluid offense. We looked like we had, okay, if it's not intermediate from 12 to 15, then we're throwing it 30. There was no in between. And if that doesn't work, Josh, go get on your horse and run.
My God.
But we'll see what Dorsey's able to do. I'm excited to see this new offense.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at first. Like a lot of people talking, like all of a sudden we were talking tight end first, and I'm like, I thought that was a little crazy because we all love Knox, and he seems to do great. So we weren't necessarily thinking that we had that need there, but and then like when the receivers started falling, I almost wondered like if we were worried about not getting a receiver or a weapon. So and he ended up not being one of the tight ends that I thought we would have drafted, but not some of the other names that I was really surprised, but like you guys said, the more time goes on and looking into it, it's really growing on me, and give this offense a little bit of a different look.
Yeah.
I
think,
just want to say, when he runs with the ball, he kind of reminds me of Josh Allen. So maybe he can take some of that hits because he's about the same size.
I was gonna say he'll
run
the
you over,
same
he'll hurdle
size.
you, that kind of thing.
We
So
literally have 2 Josh Allens now. One, he can throw it and catch it now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Dawson Knox is pretty good after the catch too. We've seen
True
him bowl some people over and stiff arch some people out of the way too.
I just remember that flip into the end zone last year when he got
Yeah.
he got hit and then hit again and flip. That was insane. How he didn't break his neck, I will have no idea.
Yeah. So the draft. How about? I know there's been a lot of talk, and people talked about Jack Campbell going to Buffalo 27. When he came off the board at 20, were you guys like, what? Did that kind of shock you? I think it was 19 or 20.
Oh, yeah. Well, first it was Jahmyr Gibbs and then Jack Campbell. And the fact the Lions did it both. For one, you knew that DeAndre Swift was going to be gone after they took Jahmyr Gibbs. And I even forgot they signed David Montgomery this year. So that just was a nail in the coffin for DeAndre Swift. But Jack Campbell, I was like, that's kind of a reach. Everybody thought even at 27, that's a reach.
There was more and more talk about him leading up to the draft.
I mean, he was the
shock. It was
basically, if you're the best player at your position going into the draft, you're probably going to be drafted in the first round. And he was pretty much the only picture quote unquote picture perfect middle linebacker in this draft. So I'm surprised he did go that high, but not surprised he went in the first round.
He was oftentimes thought of as being like a throwback linebacker, like an old school guy, big guy, got in there, got dirty, made the tackles, aggressive tackler. Think about the Detroit Lions head coach. Like, it's a spitting image of how he played.
He wants to bite people's kneecaps.
Yeah. So when you kind of step back and look at it, it's like, okay, that actually makes sense. I could see why Campbell would go after somebody like, Campbell. So the Gibbs pick, that one was a shocker. Like, I did not see that one coming at all. I don't understand what Detroit's doing with that one. We're not here to talk about Detroit, but that one surprised me.
They saw
especially
with
they
Swift,
got their guy. I mean, they got their guy. That's all. I mean, so I guess hats off to you. You go get your guy.
Yeah, you just want to move him in, move him out.
I want to jump back a little bit here, back to the tight ends really quick. Knox was able to get open last year. He just wasn't targeted. We talked about that. I think maybe it was last week, maybe a week before. Knox was targeted, I believe, 56 times in 2021, 49 times last year. He had one more catch 2 years ago than he did last year. So he was targeted almost the same. I don't understand really, honestly, why it appeared that he wasn't being utilized, because he was being used almost the same way as far as the targets go.
Because people are seeing these end-of-year stats and saying, oh, look, it's back-to-back. But we're also forgetting he missed a couple of games. Don't forget about what happened to his brother. He missed two games because of that, and then I want to say he missed probably a total of at least one more due to just injury. So you only play 14 games. Your stats are going to be down a little bit.
But one stat column that he was in the top of, near the top, was touchdowns.
Yep.
So one of the most important, I'd say.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so in the past 2 years, he has 15 touchdowns. That's amazing. That's only second on the team to Diggs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we could probably go back and forth all day long on this conversation. There are plenty of plays where Knox was not targeted when he's open. You can say that about a lot of players. I mean, the quarterback's not going to see them all the time. And I'm not an all-22 guy. I haven't gone back and watched, how many times was he open, how many times should he have been targeted. But you also have to think, too, that the play call may not be for him either. So regardless whether they're open or not, if they're not the number one or two target in that read, they may never look that way.
This is a good point by Sarah as well. We also lost an entire game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. So
Yeah. So his numbers and targets probably would have been more this year had he played the full 17.
Yeah.
So again, going back to like, I don't really understand why it appeared differently. But even to me, watching the games, I was like, "Where is Dawson Knox?" But the numbers are almost the same as the year before, and could have been better had he played all 17.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of an interesting thing on there. Let's go back to the draft. Dorian Williams. This was the first pick that I saw Bills Mafia kind of like, what?
Everybody's
were happy
favorite
for
draft
it.
pick.
Yeah, and others were like, who's this guy? What are they doing? And we know or had known of Dorian Williams because all of us had mocked him at some point to Buffalo in one of our 53,000 mocks that we did, right? So we knew a little bit about him. But it was interesting that Brandon Bean, a comment that he made, because I guess they brought up his size. He's undersized for a middle linebacker, and he was like, he actually fits more. He fits the athletic profile of what we want in our middle linebacker.
Yeah.
But when compared to Edmonds, yeah, he's undersized, but who isn't?
So yeah, every single linebacker basically in the NFL is undersized compared to.
Well, that's what I mean. Everyone's worried about the whole by Edmonds, and it's like, name one guy that could replace. He's not replaceable. It's just we're moving on. We got to do something different now.
You're never going to get that same skill set ever.
Yeah. And we don't want the same team as last
year.
Right?
He was a unicorn. He truly was a unicorn.
Yeah. Do you guys think that it's hard to ask this question really, but do you think there's an avenue where he could start at middle linebacker?
Yes.
Over Dobson or Spector or Bernard?
Yes.
I think there's a chance. Yeah.
Would you put money on it?
I can't rule it out at this point. I wouldn't put money on him.
Only thing I put money on is Spanish 21, my friend.
I wouldn't put money on him not starting a game. So maybe he would. I don't know. I don't know if I'd put money on it.
I think he's going to get a fair shot at it. I think it's probably going to come down to he and Dodson. I think Bernard is going to be more so the Milano backup. I know that we're fighting between last year and this year about third-round linebackers that are similar in stature and size. And there's going to be camps for both sides, why each should be. I'm just camp Dorian Williams. I think he is a little bit better. I think he's a little bit just more talented overall. He's size comparison.
4.45 speed, which is that's enticing.
Insane
on the field.
In size comparison, I mean, no, is he Tremaine Edmonds 6'5", 240? No, but he's the exact same size as Roquan Smith. Am I saying he's going to be Roquan Smith? Not one bit. I mean, Roquan is a all-pro in this league, hands down. One of, if not the best linebacker.
But hasn't he lined up in the middle of the field before?
Yeah, all linebackers, but he's never been the specific
not the guy in the middle. Yeah.
Yes.
But to Spin's point, Edmonds was not a middle linebacker either when they drafted him.
No.
They moved him there. In fact, there was a lot of controversy over that because people are like, why are you putting him in a position that doesn't suit him, is basically the thought process then.
Could he put on weight if they needed? Probably.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get caught up in the sizes, height, and all of that at certain positions. I know wide receiver is another one that comes up a lot. I guess in this league, it's not as big a deal as maybe it was in years past, which kind of leads us into our fourth pick of the draft, round 4, I believe. Round 5.
Round 5.
Justin Shorter, 6'4", almost 230 pounds.
Justin Taller, am I right?
You had to go there.
Oh, man. Okay, we just dropped like 20 listeners. Thanks a lot. What do you guys think about Justin Shorter? I've heard some stuff. I've read a little bit about him. There's obviously some shortcomings. He ran a 4.55 at the combine, I believe. But the height, 6'4", like I said, almost 230 pounds. That's solid. We don't have that anywhere on the roster right now. I think Davis is the tallest. No. Is he the tallest one? 6'1"?
Yeah.
He might be, yeah.
What about Sherfield?
No, he's like 5'11" too, isn't he? 6'1". Maybe he is 6'1".
I think he's 6 something. But what do you guys think about Shorter?
I think he makes the roster just on. He's the outlier in the room, like you said. Nobody is near his size, the height, weight. And he's only going to put on a couple more pounds before the season even starts. You always see these rookies the day they're drafted, and then like after like going into the first year, and then after the first year, and how much they just bulk up because now they're around professional training facilities. They're on eating regimens. I mean, everything is calculated for these guys. So I think he has all the potential is there. I mean, he's a great go up and get it guy. I think that he has a chance to really make the 53-man roster, and it's because he might not be active every game, but he's going to be active kind of like John Brown and Cole Beasley were last year, to where, all right, yeah, this game I think we are probably going to pass a little bit more, and we could use a little bit bigger body. These are a little bit bigger corners, so we'll throw him in there for a couple drives, a couple plays, give him the opportunity to go up and get a ball or two each game and see what happens.
Yeah, Jason, everyone kept downing shorter for doing body catches, but in his highlights, I only seen maybe 3 out of the 20. You guys watched a little bit of his highlights, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he was going up and getting it.
Yeah. He's physical. He's very physical at the point of contact when it comes to the catch. I mean, there weren't many corners that were out muscling him for that football.
He's getting to the position and holding his ground,
Absolutely. And it took a lot for a corner to get him down after making the catch.
Yeah.
Which is really good to see. I mean, I know it's college football. Everybody sucks at tackling in college football. But still, man, he was a bulldozer when he got that ball in his hands.
Yeah. It's definitely what I was looking for in a receiver. And when they dropped all in the beginning and, we lost all hope, we were thinking we were waiting too long, but I think for at the pick, good value. So very, very happy when I thought I missed out, we missed out that, we were able to get someone with that kind of role, that kind of size.
So you both think he makes the 53?
I do.
I'm just so hopeful for all this to happen. They all can't make it, but
So who's out? The wide receivers currently on the roster.
Well, I think
Diggs, Davis.
I think it comes down to like Sherfield and Hardy. Which one of them stays?
Hardy,
and then
Shorter.
The other one of them goes, then Shorter would be there. That
would leave 6, and that's usually the number that Brandon Peen keeps on the active roster.
If he is on the team, maybe it's Sherfield that's gone because we'd keep Hardy for smaller size and speed. There you go. Jason agrees. So
yeah.
No, they have kept at least 6 wide receivers on the 53-man roster.
There's got to be more receivers than just 6, though. That doesn't
active. Well, I mean, but then we have like all the practice squad guys. Austin Pro.
Jalen Wayne was just signed.
Like the Austin Pro, Jalen Wayne. But I think we have our 6 receivers that are going to be locked in.
There's one comment back up here that I want to kind of go to, and I'm curious. Spence says there's 4 guys that were drafted will make the 53-man roster. I'm curious to know who those 4 are in your opinion. What do you guys think? Do you think there's 4 guys on this group that make it? Well, obviously,
Kincaid and Torrance are no-brainers, right?
Yeah, the top.
Yeah, I think the first 3 are no-brainers.
I think it's the top 4, and then Broker and Austin end up on the practice squad. And I hope, especially Broker. I would love for Broker to get in the system and really get working. I think he could have a real future at the swing, like playing like the swing guard swing guard position, where he can play all 3 inside line positions.
Yeah, earlier, I think it was today, maybe yesterday, Sarah can remind me, but she commented having seen Broker at the Senior Bowl, and also obviously she saw Torrance as well, and I asked her what she thought of him, and I guess kind of the thing with him was he's kind of slow off the ball. At best, he's probably the practice squad, and he might be able to develop there, but it didn't sound like very outside shot that he makes the 53, which makes sense, given Torrance and right. Bates, exactly. And all the current guys that we have there. And Spin also says Shorter can play all phases of special teams, and I think I saw something about saying something about Dorian Williams in that regard as well.
Yeah,
and we know how much Brandon Bean and McDermott love their special teams, which I get. It's part of the game. Sometimes I mean,
Now I would feel more comfortable saying he'd start on special teams than on, you know, what I mean, I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking of starting him, you know, at linebacker. But what do you think of that? You know,
yeah. Well,
I
and I
definitely could see him
guess
there on game day.
it's going to be interesting. I think that's probably the most intriguing position battle that we're going to be watching this summer is that middle linebacker and
I
who
don't know,
gets it.
man. That those guard spots at linebacker and then linebacker, like those, that's tough to pick which one's going to be more intriguing because Osiris is just so different than what we have already, and the potential is just like the sky. I mean, he's just so good. But we have Bates, who we know and who we can trust, and McGovern, who we'd signed to a 3-year deal. So we have some vested interest in him. So now it's really just going to be, all right, who's our best 3 guys? Or best 2 guys, excuse me.
So, yeah, Shorter, Diggs, Davis, Shakir, Hardy, and Sherfield.
Yep.
It just sounds like they're because they can have what 90 players, I believe,
Yes.
going into OTAs and all of that, and only 6 of those guys are wide receivers. Surely they're going to add some more. They have.
Well,
to,
they
right?
have I mean, like Mike said, we have Jalen Wayne. I mean, the Keyshawn Johnson. We have I want to say Austin Prohl is still around. Yeah, I don't know, a couple other guys like that, but nobody that has made an impact in the NFL yet.
So
Just
yeah, maybe.
Regular practice squad guys.
Unless we get DeAndre Hopkins. I'm kidding. I had to say that.
That is so out the window. It's not even.
You got to
funny.
keep it going. Oh yeah.
The second we
Yeah.
drafted Kincaid, that ship sailed.
I think that ship is sailed for anybody. I don't even know what's going on with that anymore. But the next one. So we kind of talked a little bit about Nick Broker. I think it was in here. Yeah, Roy says Broker will drag competition to Bakker, who's coming off an ACL. When did he get that injury? Do you all remember?
It was early in the season.
Yeah.
What, like
So
second,
there's a
third
good
game?
chance he could be ready to go.
Yeah.
And battle for that spot.
Oh, okay.
Austin
I'm
Prohl's
wrong.
in the XFL.
Excuse me.
Oh, that's right, because he was on the
Prohl's in-
team. He was on the team with the quarterback that we had.
McCarron.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah, they were together over there. Nick Broker, we talked about Alex Austin. Admittingly, I don't really know a whole heck of a lot about Alex Austin.
I watched a little bit today on him. There was actually a matchup between he and Kincaid, and let me tell you, Kincaid burned him. Absolutely burned him on a double move. He ran like an in, up, and out on him, like a corner route, and oh my God, he had Alex Austin just like turning every which way looking for him. And if it was a better pass, it would have been a touchdown. But
I was actually wondering if I'd see him or Shorter in the highlights.
it was impressive.
What's his name's highlights? I'm seeing that Betker injured himself at the end of last season, week 16.
Was it?
I think so.
All right, maybe
So
somebody
we-
can do some fact checking
so
for
we-
us and find out for
Up?
sure on that.
No.
If it was late in the season,
Yeah.
then
Was
yeah,
it?
he's not going to be able to come back from that. I think with Alex Austin, he's one that definitely I don't see making the 53. Maybe not
No.
even the roster period. Maybe he goes to the practice squad, but and I also saw too that the undrafted free agents, they only signed like 6 or 7.
Well, they only Mike? You said they only legitimately signed 2, and then the rest were just camp invites.
Right. I only saw that we got invited. Vincent Scruggs, Wayne Patterson, and Dale. And we signed 2, Wayne and DJ Dale, defensive lineman out of Alabama.
So
I'm
those
hearing
are
a lot about him.
Hey, like Mike said, I forgot, but yeah, he was my 7th round pick. I thought he was just one of those sleeper guys that you could grab late in the draft, and he's out of Alabama. You know, he played. I mean, there's obviously some sort of potential there if Nick Saban had him starting on his defensive line.
Yeah.
So
6'3", 300.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he's a little undersized. I mean, not super undersized, but I mean, he's closer to Ed Oliver than he is Tim Settle or Jordan Phillips.
Yeah, there was another player that I noticed that went undrafted that I know you and me, Casey, had mocked to Buffalo early in this whole draft season, and that was Ibrahim, the running back. He's
Did he?
still not on a team. Unless I
Really?
looked, anyways. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I thought that was interesting.
I would like to just take a minute and put to bed the Sean Tucker to Buffalo Bills hopes and dreams. That ship has sailed very quickly, and it makes me very sad. But I'm hoping the best for him and all the other Syracuse players that went drafted or
Yeah, we're
free
Bergeron it
agent
up.
signing. With Atlanta, pick 38.
That's right.
They traded up in
He
the
went,
draft.
yeah, and grabbed him.
Week
Yeah, it was week 16. So he could very well end up on the IR
No,
at the beginning
but
of the season or the
That
pup
he said
maybe.
week 16 in 2021. So that means they pupped him
Oh,
all
okay,
last
yeah,
year.
2021.
They pupped him all last year to maintain his contract and so his rights, but they didn't lose but they didn't keep lose the roster spot.
Well, now there's a debate even what kind of injury it was.
Oh,
Achilles.
it was his Achilles.
Okay, that actually would concern me more honestly than an ACL for a lineman who's constantly putting pressure on those ankles. And we've seen a lot of players when they tear their Achilles, they don't come back the same. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him.
And we
definitely got depth there right now.
Yeah. That's the important part.
Yeah, which they definitely did that. So Alex Austin, I think we all agree he's probably practice squad at best. Nick Broker, maybe he does make the 53, at least while. No. What if maybe Booker's not ready to go?
No. Well, then we still have Andrews, McGovern, Osiris, Tommy Doyle, and Bates.
All right. So you're completely out on Broker. Not going to happen. Not a chance.
Not this year, anyway.
So practice squad.
Yeah, practice squad.
All right. So that's pretty much the draft. We only had 6 guys. We have, I think it's 11 picks next year.
10.
Is it 10? Because
10.
we did some, Bean did some maneuvering this draft, picked up some extra draft picks. So next year will be interesting to see. And I would love, can they just take all 10 picks and pull like not Chicago Bears, New Orleans Saints, Mike Dick and move, trade the whole draft so we can get up and get Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Dude, please. Please. Oh my God.
Maybe that's why we're keeping some receiver spots open. Don't have as many as we
that
could.
Would be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
He could be. He probably. Well, I won't say could be number 1 pick because he's not going to be with Caleb Williams, and there's some other really good quarterbacks coming out next year too, like
Drake May.
Drake May. Have you watched him play? He's good.
He's legit.
Yeah, I was watching. I think it was the bowl game last year, and Josh Allen's name kept coming up throughout the broadcast when they're talking about Drake May.
He's just very prototypical in what you're looking for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Just size, arm strength, everything.
Mechanics. And there's another kid, something Milton out of Tennessee.
Bo Milton.
They're talking about him, could be potentially right up there. So I think to get somebody like Marvin Harrison Jr., you're probably going to have to get somewhere between 5 and 10. Maybe 10 draft picks will do it. I don't know. That would be great.
Hey man,
that
cap salary better skyrocket if we're going to do that, because we're going to need to sign some free agents if we're giving up the draft.
Jason says that being said, he might use that draft capital trade up next year.
Right.
Yeah, I can definitely see him doing that. You brought up the salary cap, and I heard this on another podcast. I think it was One Bills Live, but they were talking about, well, maybe it wasn't, so don't quote me on that. But anyways, the projected increase in the salary cap based on where we are right now, they're saying we could be around $1 million under the cap. So with some more restructures and everything, I think Buffalo's worst year was this year, currently anyways, as far as being over the cap and having to get under it. The future years look more promising than what we dealt with this year.
No, but we also thought that cap was going to do that this year. Now it did jump this year, but it didn't jump the way they expected it. They thought it was going to, go 40 million up, and it only went about 2022. So if it actually happens, I'll be excited, but I'm not getting my hopes up after this year.
Yeah, I don't know what they were projecting the cap at. They didn't actually say that part, just that based on their current projections, this is where Buffalo will fall out. So that's all of the draft. There's, like I said, we only had the 6 picks. There'll be more next year. I'm kind of looking forward to college football. I don't know about you guys. I watch a lot of college ball. And
Usually only Syracuse, but I'm becoming more of a fan.
I'll tell you what,
I'm going to see what's coming up next.
I'm going to be thinking real hard about getting Syracuse season tickets next year.
Yeah.
They're only about $100, so.
Are you serious? For a whole season, only $100?
Hand to God, and that's with a cushion seat. Dude, it pays to suck, man. It pays to suck.
I guess so. Season tickets here for Boise State, like a couple grand.
Yeah. Well, my aunt and uncle live in Oklahoma, and when I went down to visit them, they were like, "Oh, you see that stadium?" I'm like, "Yeah, is that your local college?" Like, "Oh no, that's a high school." And they're like, "It's $100 for season tickets for that." I was like, "What?"
Wow. Wow.
And they're like, "Yeah, it's usually sold out."
Yeah, Syracuse doesn't even sell out, right?
No, not
Football.
anymore, man. Not since we were 15th in the country with
Right.
Oh, I can't think of his name right now. Scratch it. Never mind.
All right, it's scratched. Roy says, "I'd rather mow the lawn than watch college football." I don't know. I've been asked this question before, like which do I prefer? I'm a bigger Bills fan than I'm a college football fan, but I'm a bigger college football fan than I am an NFL fan, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's just a different game. I mean, come on, the NFL is the highest level,
Yeah,
but it's like NBA and college basketball. I prefer college basketball over NBA because there's more of a human element to it. They're not machines. They're not robots. College basketball, literally anything can happen. The NBA, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, where are the stars this year? That team is probably going to win. In the NFL, in college football, it's like, all right, where are the stars? Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Oregon, Oklahoma, USC. One of those teams is probably going to win, but there's always the outliers like UCF a couple years ago and TCU,
TCU last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that all these guys, teams can come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So the excitement of college football like that is amazing because
I was going to say it's more exciting because there's more higher chances of the bigger play, higher scoring games.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Go Big Blue. I'm all about the Michigan. I have 3 teams, and you can do that in college football because there's 120 of them, 130.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah. Well, that's just Division 1. If you want to throw in all the Division 2, 2A, Division 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, then there's hundreds and hundreds. Yes. But I live in the Boise area, so Boise State, obviously. I've been here since 2004. I've been a Michigan fan since I was a kid. And probably even before I was a Bills fan, actually, because I was watching college football before I was watching NFL. And then I got to root for the Buffalo Bulls, University of Buffalo. I mean, why wouldn't you?
You're home away from hometown.
Yeah, my home away from home. So off of the college football, I guess I could go on for that. We should just do another podcast for college football. I'd be okay with that. I do want to ask you here, before we got about, 15 minutes or so, but I want to talk to you guys about the AFC East as a whole. And
any team in particular?
Not yet. Last year, AFC West was all the rage. AFC West is going to have 4 teams who are going to be in the playoffs. They got 4 of the top 6 quarterbacks in the division or in the conference. And what happened?
That might have been me saying all those things.
It
might have been me.
It was every football fan across the country is like, oh, the AFC West is just stacked. They're loaded. They got Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, and this and that.
Dude, on paper, because it was.
Yeah,
they were stacked. And then we forgot Russell Wilson doesn't know how to throw a football.
It just didn't work out.
And Derek Carr just couldn't do it.
He broke his finger, didn't he? Maybe his hand's messed up.
Oh, my finger.
Stop.
So compare that what we went through last year to the AFC East now. Is the AFC East the best division in football? And can you see a world where all four teams are in the AFC playoffs?
I will never say all four teams will make the playoffs ever
Two.
again. That it was too sporadic. And yeah, I mean two making it very reasonable. I mean three
That's iffy.
almost made it last year.
That's it. 3 is iffy. I don't see
Yeah,
all
I mean because the Patriots were right on the brink until we smoked them.
unless they just turn it around real quick
But I don't.
in the next few years.
The Patriots. I mean, the AFC East is very top heavy, but the bottom. I mean, the bottom with the Patriots. I mean, that offense scares nobody. That defense. I mean, yes, they added Christian Gonzalez, one hell of a corner. They still have Matthew Judon, and they're making play. I mean, they still have Bill Belichick. You know, they're doing things to get better. But Mac Jones just isn't the answer. Their offensive weapons aren't it. I mean, now we have to answer the question: can Ramondre Stevenson handle the RB1 entire workload? So it's I'll never say four teams make it. I'll be surprised if three do. But the best division in football goes down to the AFC and the NFC East.
Both Eastern divisions, yeah. But well, first let me just address this. All last season, I kept saying Denver was way overrated. I'll be honest, I did not say that. I thought that Denver would be right there as one of the better teams in the division because they had the better defense.
Mm-hmm.
They had among the four teams in there, they were the best defense in there in that division. And I was down on the Chiefs because they did not Tyreek Hill. I've never been a big fan of their defense, though I am coming around to their defense because they make plays when they need to. And yeah, just that bottom half of that division just wilted. The Chargers are just the Chargers because no matter how talented the team is, they for whatever reason can't get wins. And then this one here, Nick Finch picked Bills, Jets, and New England to make it. I don't know how New England gets in. I could see the Jets,
especially over Miami.
Yeah. The thing with Miami though, and I'm not trying to put down the Dolphins or their fans or anything like that, but because I know some fans get all butthurt when you talk about their quarterback getting hurt, but that is a genuine concern at this point. And the fact that he even openly said, I did consider retirement. What if it happens again?
That shows you. Well, it shows you how serious it is. What's he gonna do? Is one more going to make him retire? You know,
what can you do to change to prevent that?
I mean, I saw he's wearing. They got him like a new special helmet, but a lot of those the linemen have already been wearing it. And yes, they've definitely helped. I mean, we've seen our own Mitch Morris, who was very susceptible to concussions. And they've really knocked down on him since he switched over to this new helmet. So hopefully that's it. And I'm sure a bunch of Miami haters are going to say, well, if Matt Milano doesn't cheap shot him, we won't have to worry about it and blah, 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 blah. Maybe your coach shouldn't put your players in the position to go back into a game when they're knocked out flat cold on the ground.
Yeah, that whole thing. Jason says I'm more worried about the Jets and the Patriots or Dolphins. They got Cobb earlier, so they're stacking the chips. Yeah, I agree. They have probably the best defense. At least statistically, they did have the best defense in the division last year. I'm confident that Buffalo's defense will get back in the top 5. They were number 6 last year without Hyde, without Miller, without this guy, just injuries across the board. I don't think any of the starters made it through 13 games, let alone 17. But,
nobody made it all 17.
Yeah.
Except one.
We're all banged up.
Mr. Matt Milano.
Which is interesting because early in his career, that was an issue with him.
He was missing 2 to 3 games a year.
Yeah. Prediction on who the Bills play in London. I haven't heard that yet. So I guess that's one of the schedule things that has leaked.
I saw Raiders at Bills in London October 8th at 2:30.
Do we think it could be? Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't looked at this year's schedule enough, but why not do you think it could be a divisional game?
No,
I don't think they've ever done a
doubt
divisional
it.
game overseas.
They wouldn't do
because
that. They want to make it fair, right? Because it's
because you
home
have to
field.
take away their home game then.
One
Yeah.
here, one
Somebody's
there.
home game.
Yeah.
And
Then we'd have to
so-
play 2 there, right?
Yeah, like the Jaguars are playing in London and in Germany. Why don't they just move the Jaguars over to Europe already? Like,
Oh, there will be a full-time team in somewhere in Europe
I'm get it.
at some point.
So that okay, let's put a pin in that and come back to that next week because that's a conversation I would really like to have with you guys
Which conversation?
about because you can't
Expansion?
just add. Yes, we'll leave it at that at expansion.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you're talking about the comment or the expansion piece. Underestimate the Dolphins at your own peril. They just have to show that they're making it work before anything serious. And I do agree with that. And that's a point that I've brought up before as well, that they have to actually prove it on the field first. And I'm not underestimating the Dolphins if Tua can stay healthy. But if he can't, if he gets a concussion and then decides to call it quits, like I can't keep doing this to myself, and then you're stuck with, was it Thompson? I can't remember the name.
Skylar Thompson.
Skylar.
Yeah, because they lost Teddy. So
Yeah. So
I don't know, man.
put a team in Australia, farther away the better.
Maybe we play Giants there, and they can get used to not being in New York.
Wait a minute. They're not. Yeah, probably Jags. We've done that a couple times already, I think, haven't we?
Yeah.
That was our last London game. Yeah.
And that's the one the EJ Manuel played.
So it's a Bills
stop.
home game that'll be there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
We were down in that game too. Emmanuel brought us back, and then Emmanuel lost it.
well, that's a shocker.
Yeah. So our options are Broncos, Raiders, Cowboys, Giants, Jags, Bucks, Jets, Pats, Dolphins.
I could see the Raiders because if they're going to make the Raiders fly all the way across the country, might as well fly them across an ocean.
Or Dallas.
Yeah, what's the difference?
The
with that,
iconic American
right?
team going overseas.
Hey, we have a few more minutes here. We want to get back to something really quick. I almost forgot to mention it. I did see in the comments earlier, but Buffalo signed a new defensive tackle this week.
We signed a couple of players this week.
Yeah,
We did.
But the big one,
Biggest.
The biggest, yeah, there we go. The biggest.
Poona Ford coming to Buffalo. It almost feels like this was a done deal before the draft, but a kind of a gentleman's handshake. We'll make it official afterwards so that we can protect that third round compensatory pick for next year. What do you guys think of this addition? Casey,
Go
go.
ahead. Okay.
Totally necessary. Totally necessary.
I think
But we re-signed. I don't know. We were looking kind of thin there at one point at D tackle. We were like, "What are we doing?" But man, it's like not a question now.
now
because
we have our 5-man rotation: Puna, Ed, Daquan, Settle, and Phillips.
Right.
Well, there's so many different combinations that you could put in. I mean, we could have over 700 pounds on the freaking field just in 2 guys. Right there in the middle, or we could have maybe 550. Almost barely 600 pounds with Ed Oliver on the field. He and Daquan Jones. So there's a lot of different combinations.
He's just the bull rush guy. He's just gonna try to blow you up. And that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing.
I'm really excited for this. And the thing that really kind of stood out to me, especially after you named all of those 5 guys, that was an issue in that Cincinnati game last year. Well, and the Dolphins game in the playoffs. We did not have any bodies left to play in the middle of the field other than Oliver, who was just getting double teamed and taken completely out of the game. We have guys now that even if 1 or 2 go down, we're still in pretty good shape because it's a good group of DTs right there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, and so to Matt's point, we now have 8 defensive tackles, including guys like Eli Onquo and the practice squad players. So we're deep. Brandon Bryant, and we've seen both of those guys play meaningful snaps in the season and perform well. I mean, they both have a sack in their careers. So
is that 8 defensive tackles? Is that counting the Georgia kid that they or Alabama?
DJ Dale,
drafted free agent Dale.
Yeah. So it's Onquo, Brandon Bryant, and then DJ Dale. So that would make 8.
8. Okay. Yeah, and this is so
It's
Jason.
amazing
also,
how
we
things
got-
change so quick. But they sign
Yeah.
a couple
Oh, I
players
know.
and
Dude.
you're like,
Well, and that's the thing too. If you think about it, because one of the things that we've been hearing about is Buffalo doesn't have any defensive tackles on contract past 2023. I'm not concerned about that.
We still
They're going to
don't.
figure it out.
We still don't.
They're going to figure it out. They're gonna. It's not like they're going to go into 2024 without any defensive tackles. So I'm not concerned about it. Who it ends up being, I have no clue. I don't think Oliver stays around after this year, unless he has just this crazy, ridiculous year, and we bring him back. But if that happens, then he might bounce anyways.
I
Similar
mean,
to
you
what happened
got
with
Puna
Edmonds.
to compete with now.
So here's
Right.
my question or opinion, I guess. It's so we bring in Puna, that brings us that brings us back to 5. I'm not saying that this makes Ed Oliver completely expendable, but would it make an Ed Oliver trade in the middle of training camp a lot more easy to swallow, to where there's not nearly the hole at tackle? And now, so say Puna plays well. I mean, he's only 27 years old. So say he plays well, we can sign him to maybe a cheaper deal than what Ed Oliver would have gotten, and then we re-signed, Jordan Phillips, Tim Settle, and draft a D tackle to replace Daquan Jones if he decides to walk away now. And what's your guys' opinion on it? Do you think that this might push Ed Oliver out the door, make it a little bit easier to trade him?
I don't think so. I think they're committed to him for this coming season. Beyond that, I don't see him staying with the team. Like I said,
After
maybe
this
that
year, you're
changes
saying.
after this season. Yeah, I don't think
Right.
he's going anywhere.
We'll get our last
I think
year.
if he was going to go anywhere, they would have already done it, because we know that Bean likes his draft capital. I don't think he was very comfortable going into a draft with only 6 draft picks this past year. So I think if it was going to happen, it would have been this moment. Matt here brought up the names: Eli Anquo, Cortez Broughton, Brendan Bryant, Puna Ford, Daquan Jones, Oliver, Phillips, and Settle. So that does not include Dale. So there's 9 of them.
Cortez Broughton's a new name to me. He must have.
This is a good point.
He slipped through the cracks. This is a good
Yeah.
point.
At this point, you keep Oliver. Next year, he could earn you a comp pick.
Nothing
If he
wrong
has
with that.
another good season and he gets a big contract, or another, I say if he has a good, well, I guess the season's been okay, but just haven't lived up to what we expected from him, right?
What the
But
draft
if he has,
involved.
yeah, if he has that kind of a season and he gets a big, contract again like Edmonds did, then yeah, we can get another comp pick.
So can Mike and I fangirl out now for the last 3 minutes of the show
I'm scared.
for our other free agent signing from this week?
Go ahead. The mic is yours.
Latavius Murray is home. And I have waited since I was like 10 years old for this to happen, it feels like.
Yeah. Definitely a name we're quite familiar with.
Tell
Latavius
the story.
Latavius
I know
played,
a lot of people are like, why are they signing this guy? But you guys tell your story so that people can understand your excitement for it.
so Latavius, Mike and I grew up in a very small town. My graduating class had 50 people. Mike, if he graduated, would have had maybe 50 people.
Wow, why are you throwing him under like that?
GD.
Because
No,
I love it.
him.
Because I love him. And Latavius also went to a small town that put out another great running back that Ronnie's familiar with, and Mike Hart. And
Michigan.
we got to see Latavius put up 64 points against our football team, and we were undefeated, and we were one of the best, like in the conference, like no doubt about it. And this dude made every single player on that team look like a child. I saw him. Weedsport punted him the ball, and he waited till it came to a dead stop, and they were almost the entire team was around him. I won't ever forget this. This is no exaggeration. He picked it up and ran it 70 yards to the house just because he felt like it. Ran through everybody. It was absolutely insane. I had never seen it was the first professional. Yeah, it was the first professional athlete I had ever seen in that up close and personal in my life. It was one of the most insane athletic things I've ever seen. And my dad knows his grandpa just through life, and it's really cool to see him finally come to my favorite team. I always rooted for him going to UCF, and when he was drafted by the Raiders and played for the Vikings and the Saints, he was just you just rooting for the hometown kid.
Yeah.
So it's
Now,
nice to have him back close.
My story is actually a little different because Casey's a few years younger than me, but we actually played against him. Now, I wasn't a starter. I didn't play a whole lot, but on the field, same time. And I want to say I almost tackled him, but I probably wasn't even close.
Mike got kicked in the teeth by him, probably.
I don't know if I touched him, man.
Mike
If
Hurd
you
is the
did,
reason
that's a
why
win.
Yeah.
Where the Chad Henney's still in the league, backing up Mahomes. Brandon Graham is still shredding in Philly. There was a question here brought by Jason. Who's going to be QB2? Let's not answer that right now because we're at our time. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Let's save that one for next week, though. So let's kind of look at that, and we'll see what's. Hey, I know we're on time. Okay. I'm Papa Ron. These are my co-hosts, Mike and Casey, for the Mafia Cast. We are out of here. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.